ranking top 10 women's fragrances. So I've done this with men's fragrances, but now it's time to, I guess, rank the women's. So hopefully I will not be attacked after this video, depending on how I rank certain fragrances, but I'm going to start pretty simple, pretty agreeable with, again, one of the most popular women's fragrances. This is Light Blue from Dolce & Gabbana. I like this fragrance. I'm going to be rating 1 out of 10, 10 being the best, of course. This is a really nice green apple, citrusy, fresh linen, beach time sort of summer fragrance. I like this, so I'm going to probably give it a 7 because it's kind of weak. It doesn't last very long, and I can't stand fragrances that don't last very long, but I'm going to give it a 7 because I do like how it smells. It's very nice for the summer when it's hot, and it's always hot where I live, so this is a pretty good savior here. So 7, I would say. 7 out of 10. Then moving on to another extremely popular fragrance, Versace Bright Crystal. So this is pretty much a fruity floral sort of fragrance that has a little bit of pomegranate, has some yuzu, ice, peony, lotus, that sort of thing. So this is also nice in terms of smell. However, it's even weaker, I would say, than Light Blue. This is the Eau de Toilette. You might be able to see. Eau de Toilette, which means it's kind of going to be weaker in general than, say, Eau de Parfum. Now, I have heard there's an absolute version of this perfume, which I believe is stronger. But this, specifically, the Eau de Toilette is quite weak. At least I think. I don't smell it. It doesn't last very long. So I'm going to give it, like, 6. Bordering on 7, but more of a 6. Also, even though it smells nice, it's kind of a typical fragrance, I would say. Like, there's nothing super special about it. This is, like, more of a nice daytime fragrance, like going to get groceries sort of thing. Very casual. So I would say 6. You know, it's not too special. It's nice, but not special. Then, the number 1 best-selling fragrance in the world, Chanel 5. So, I have a soft spot for this. This is a really nice, vintage, certainly, fragrance, primarily florals. There's some aldehydes, and then the base notes have really wonderful, warm, heavy notes. Specifically, there's some oak moss, amber, sandalwood, musk, animalistic notes, that sort of thing. Because of those notes, this lasts quite a long time despite being a floral fragrance. Also, those base notes give it kind of a warm, mysterious vibe, which I really like. So I'm going to give this 8, I would say. I would say 8, bordering on 9, but 8. The longevity is really nice. I would say 7 hours on this one. Then, I don't know how popular this one is at the moment, but it is still pretty popular. This is Baccarat Rouge 540. So, this is, a few years ago, this was the perfume to get. These days, a little bit less, but again, it's still very popular right now. This is more of a fancy sort of fragrance if you want to spend a little bit extra money to get something more luxurious. This is has some interesting notes. It has ambergris, which is a very musky marine note. Saffron, which is spicy. There's a little bit of fir wood thrown in there. In general, an interesting fragrance with some pretty intense sweetness. It's kind of like a spicy sweet sort of fragrance. Whenever I smell it, I kind of smell like burnt cotton candy or creme brulee sort of thing. And I personally am not a big fan of sweet fragrances, but because it takes kind of a different approach with more of the, you know, kind of burnt sugar aspect mixed with the more of the musky notes of the ambergris and the wood notes. This is pretty good. It's also extremely strong. I made this mistake. I put on too much and it just filled up the whole house. Big mistake. Longevity here, because it is so strong, I would say 10 hours. This is crazy. But in terms of how it smells, in general, performs, I would say this is... it's a well-made fragrance. I'm going to give it 7. I would give it 7.5, but I'm sticking to whole numbers here. So 7, I would say. It's nice. If I liked sweet fragrances, this would probably be even higher, but in general, I would say 7. Then we're going back to another old fragrance from 1925. This is Shalomar by Guerlain. This is pretty much a departure from most modern fragrances, but it is still pretty popular. It does still have kind of more of a niche following, but this is really nice. If you specifically like smoky fragrances, a little bit spicy as well, Shalomar's the answer here. And fortunately for me, I do really enjoy, heavy, smoky, spicy fragrances. This was, when it was created in the 20s, it was inspired off of the spices and incense of ancient India. So I would give this, I'm going to give it a 9, because besides it smells really nice, it's smoky and mysterious and seductive, it's really strong and it lasts a long time. Minimum, I would say 10 hours. Really strong, really nice, and has delicious vanilla notes, amber notes. It is probably one of the coziest fragrances I've ever smelled. Very nice. Then, now this one might get me cancelled, I don't know, but this is La Vie est Belle. So, this is quite popular. Probably a little bit more popular a few years ago, but still very popular. Modern female fragrance. This is a gourmand fragrance, which means it's very sweet, in the sense that it's sugary sweet, like a dessert. It has praline notes, which is a dessert note. Then some really juicy, ripe fruit notes like blackcurrant and berries and things like that. So super, super sweet. And this is a good fragrance. I'm not saying this is a bad fragrance based on my rankings, but I don't like this fragrance. I do not like it because, as I said before, I'm not a huge fan of super sweet fragrances. Sweet in general is fine. It works really nicely, but this is really sweet. This is, you dove into a cake. You dove into a whole platter of cookies. This is, beyond your typical sweetness. So I'm gonna give this like a 3 because okay. So really good thing about it is it lasts a long time. It's surprisingly strong, but that's not a great thing for me because I don't like it. So I'm gonna give it a 3. If you like sweet fragrances, this is great. Like I said, it's not a bad fragrance. It's actually a very good fragrance, which is why it's so popular. I just personally don't like sweet fragrances. So a 3, I would say, out of 10. Then moving on to a pretty interesting fragrance. This is not a perfume, but Juliette has a gun. The reason I say this is interesting is because it has one note, which is unusual for a fragrance. Specifically, it has the note of ambrox, which is a synthetic derivative of ambergris, which is a musky substance that comes from Wales. But this is the synthetic version, so it's a little bit different, not quite as musky. But this is pretty interesting. It's pretty faint. Not great on longevity, but the note that it has is very unique in that it kind of changes depending on your body chemistry, from person to person, how it evolves over the day. I would say it kind of balances between powdery, nutty, like almonds, a little bit sweet, a little bit musky. It kind of wafts between these different notes over the day, and for that reason, I just think it's interesting, a fun thing to wear. And like I said, the projection's not great, longevity's not great. I would say maybe 4 hours. Not great. More of a personal, intimate fragrance, but I do like how it smells, and I do like how it evolves. And the fact that it's just one note, I just think it's interesting. So I'm gonna give this one maybe a 5, maybe a 6. I'll give it a 6. I like this more than average, so I'll give it a 6. If it was stronger, I'd like it way more. But for how it is, it's quite nice to wear. If you're not leaving the house, or you just want to smell nice in your own home, and you want to smell nice, this is a nice option. Then Coming up, this is probably another controversial option. This is Black Opium. So this is an extremely popular fragrance. I have mixed feelings, which kind of lean towards the negative side of things. So the thing about Black Opium, again, it's not bad. It's not a bad fragrance. Pretty good longevity. I would say 8 hours. It has some orange blossom, cedarwood, patchouli, some black coffee, which is pretty unique. It has some pretty intense sweetness, but not as much as La Vie est Belle. So I would say it's like more kind of a slightly spicy, sweet sort of thing, I would say. Ranking it, I'm gonna give this one a 6 as well. Not one of my favorites. I don't hardly wear it very often because, you know, it's just kind of out of my realm of things here, but it is a good option. A lot of people really do enjoy this. This scent, it is, of course, the designer scent, so it is a high quality option here. And very strong, so reliable. But I'm going to give it a 6 just because it's kind of too sweet for me, but it is still pretty good. Then, hold on, let me show you something special here. This is Oud Satin Mood, from the same brand that makes Baccarat Rouge 540. This is my favorite. This is my favorite on the list. If you've watched any of my other videos and this comes up, I'll make a big deal of it because this is something special. This is a mix primarily of oud, which is a very musky, sort of rare wood, mixed with Turkish rose. And there are some other notes in there, but those are the main two, and this is fantastic. And Satin Mood, as it says, is kind of a satiny, smooth, warm sort of fragrance here. And I really love the contrast between that really dry, heavy note of the oud and then the slightly sweet rose note. Balancing those is just harmony, perfection. So this is more expensive on the list here because of pretty much the oud, which is a very rare and expensive type of wood. But the smell is so good. It's really something else. And so because of that, I think I might as well give this one a 10 out of 10 because it's also really long lasting. I would probably say 8 to 9 hours. So this is the 10 out of 10 on this list, I would say. Just a really, really nice option. Then the last one is Eau de Quartier. So I have some mixed feelings about this one as well, but this time ranging more towards the positive. So this is a violet fragrance, very clean linens sort of fragrance. It's very nice. I would say clean is the main word to describe this one, with a little bit of sweetness from that violet. The main issue that it has is that it's kind of weak. It's actually very weak. I would say longevity, 3 hours. You know, not great. However, it is from Cartier, so it's high quality fragrance. Also, it smells pretty good. So I'm gonna give this one, it's between 6 and 7. I'll say 6 just because of the longevity. You know, that low longevity always irks me. If it was stronger, it would probably be more like an 8 out of 10. Definitely quite nice, but as it is, this is the Eau de Toilette, which as I mentioned, is a little bit weaker. If they have a stronger version, which I don't know if they do, this would be, you know, much higher on the rankings here. But for now, 6 out of 10 for this one. But it is a very nice smelling fragrance. But that's the list. So if you have any opinions, I'm sure quite a few of you, if you like these fragrances and I rated them poorly, you probably will have some opinions. You could share those in the comment section below. If you liked the video, leave a like, maybe subscribe, and I make videos throughout the week, so stick around.